start by just sharing my story with LinkedIn. I've had an account with LinkedIn for 9 years, something like that. But for the vast majority of that time, it was dormant. But in 2021, I'd spent 6 years using Facebook quite successfully. I made quite a bit of money from it. But my target audience changed, and I wanted to target more precisely the sort of people that I wanted to look for. So LinkedIn is a great source of data. They make it available to people like us, something that Facebook doesn't do. So I started to make the transition across to LinkedIn. That was 2021, 3 years ago. And despite a few stumbles, I basically what I did is I started with the traditional method, which is to post content, cross your fingers and hope for the best. I might get a lead from this piece of content. Well, I did that for a few months and that didn't work. So I thought, right, I need to be a bit more proactive here. So that's why I sort of developed a quick start method. Still kept posting content, and I think my content has improved over the last 3 years. So now I run sort of a hybrid plan. I still post the content for long-term credibility, authority, and sometimes a few leads, but I still use the quick start methods that got me my first 6 clients starting in May 2021. So I just mentioned that. Well, that's enough of that. I started my online journey in 2006. I didn't have any products or services to promote. So I started as an affiliate promoting high ticket products. I had no idea how the internet worked, but I figured that other people that I know seem to be doing okay with it. So surely I can learn this stuff as well. My main concern was to generate leads, to generate inquiries, to find people who were interested in my topic. So that was 2006, and I remained as an affiliate marketer for many years and did pretty well from it. And then around 2012, I started to develop my own products. So the first one, courses, right? Small courses. They weren't expensive courses. They sold for less than $100 US. It wasn't such a money spinner, but it enabled me to get the message out in a more complete way. People buy the course, and then some of them say, "Oh, I like what this Kim Willis guy is doing. Maybe he can help me in a more personal way to get my client acquisition thing working properly." So the courses led to coaching, blah blah blah. Now, so that's enough of that. Quick one. This is the quick version, right? I'm going to sort of breeze through. I think it's about 4 mini topics. So the first one is the content only method. That's how I started, and it didn't work. Right. So I started in January, I think it was January 2021 on LinkedIn. And I was posting away like 4 or 5 times a week, and not much engagement, if any, and definitely no inquiries, no messages, no inbound, no DMs, nothing. What's happening here? Better try something new. But that's how I started. So I guess if you just keep posting content every day or every several times a week, and you do it for long enough, maybe 2 years or something like that, and providing the content is really good. It's got to be what I call high impact content. And I'm not talking about yelling at people. I'm talking about getting under people's skin. So providing that you're doing that, and to be honest with you, 90% of content that I see is not high impact content. And so, but if you get that part of it right, okay, you will start to get a little bit of engagement, and you start to build a little bit of a following. And then after a period of time, you might get the occasional inbound inquiry. They ping you in the DMs. But that's a 2 to 3 year program doing it this way for most people. That's why I decided after a couple of months, I'm a bit of an impatient person. I thought, to hell with this. There's got to be a faster way of doing it. So I looked at what a few other people were doing, thought about it, added my own twist to a strategy, and I started sending people messages outbound. Okay, so that's an outbound strategy. So the outbound strategy combined with the content I always see is the bedrock. That's the foundation. Without great content, makes it a heck of a lot harder to get traction, even if you're using outbound messages. Because one of the first things they're going to do is they're going to look at your newsfeed. They're going to look at your profile. And if it doesn't stack up, well, you haven't won the authority game. You haven't built any authority. So people think, well, this guy doesn't deserve my time. I'm not going to reply to his message. So they ghost you. That's what happens. So that's why I say the content is the bedrock. By itself, particularly in the early stages, it's usually not enough to get a new client, new customers. So I started sending these gentle, direct messages. I don't like sending like pitchy, aggressive messages. You've probably had them in your inbox. Everyone's experienced them. I don't like it because I don't like to burn people. I don't like to burn a budding relationship. So I take a more of a nuanced approach, and you get the settings right, it can work extremely well. Now, the third one is the wonders of warmth. Get cold pitching, create warmth and rapport first. So you can create warmth with your content, a little bit of warmth there. You can create warmth with your messaging. And the way I look at it is that in the early stages, it's more about friendshipping, and, building a relationship. Another one is a marketing ecosystem made on with this kind of thing. I'll just touch on that very briefly. And then finally, what I call the accelerator methods, where we locate people outside of LinkedIn and plug them into your warm marketing system, which would include your LinkedIn. It would include your LinkedIn, providing you've got your LinkedIn sorted out. And this is a beautiful way of doing business because you've met people somewhere else. It might be an online networking event, offline networking, some other way. You've met people out in the community or whatever. Swap business cards. Make sure your business card has your link, handle on it, LinkedIn link on it. And, either they'll connect with you or you can connect with them. And then you plug, then by default, they're going to start experiencing your content. They're going to start seeing your content. And this has been a big thing for me over the last, I got my first client using these methods in May of 2021. And it has a big impact. So if you can meet people elsewhere, bring them into LinkedIn, that becomes one of your hubs. Beautiful way of doing business. Very soft, effective. The problem with those who think in riches, let me check my time here. A lot of people, they're posting content, but it's not attracting a following. Lots of reasons for that. One of the reasons often is that it's what I call love us or love me content. They're always talking about themselves and their business all the time. Drives me nuts. Advertising agencies, they should know better. They're always talking about their latest award and all this. Mean that it's not important, but don't they make a big hullabaloo about it? Bragging. No, much better to talk about your client and their problems. What are their issues? That's what I'd rather create content about. And then you start to attract a following. Your posts are getting little or no meaningful engagement. You feel invisible on LinkedIn. No one notices you. You're a nobody, in other words. You're a social media nobody. No one replies to your direct messages, so you're being ghosted. Some of you may identify with this. Beholden to vanity metrics. They think it's all about views and reach and all this sort of stuff. But look, if no one's commenting on your posts, it doesn't matter about all that stuff. Even likes don't mean much. It's the comments. That's how you build a community. It's the comments. Now, you don't need to be getting hundreds of comments with each post, but if you can get to the point where you're getting 5 or 6 comments, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And that's impressive to a prospective client who wants to check you out. They think, there's a bit of action happening here on this guy's news feed. Not confident writing for LinkedIn or anywhere else for that matter. Now, I know this is a big issue for a lot of people. Maybe they had trauma when they were kids at school and they ended up hating writing. A lot of people either they hate it, not confident about it, they don't think they're any good. But it's amazing. One of a student that I had when I was helping people on with Facebook, her name's Connie, she's from Melbourne, and she was hopeless. She couldn't write content to save herself. But I gave her some personal coaching, and within, I'd say, a month, 5 weeks, something like that, her content had improved dramatically. I mean, I wouldn't say it was, 100% professional content, but it was much more impactful than before. She started to get some comments. She started to get some meaningful engagement, started to build a little bit of a community within the commenting thread. So it just takes a decision. Getting someone to help you with your content is I think is a smart thing to do. But if you can get to the point where you're feeling good about what you're doing and you're writing content that's starting to get some traction, wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. And it's a skill that you can leverage in all sorts of different ways over the next few years. Anyway, look, the main thing is that if you're hungry for growth but not sure how to get it, I'll show you a simple way to do it. I've given you a few pointers on how to do it already, but it's a method that revolves around content, messaging, and communities. That's why I'm in the Relevate community. I like communities. I like being involved with communities. It's, I've been a digital nomad for many years. I'm moving back to Brisbane in the not too distant future. But I tell you what, when you're relying 100% for your income on online, using online methods, it can get a bit lonely because you're not meeting people, right? out in the local community, just not meeting people very often. So communities are really important to me, but I think they're important to everybody. The one in the middle there, messaging, absolutely. Messaging is the name of the game, really, isn't it? Content and messaging. There is a bit of a difference, content and messaging, but I won't bore you with the exact, the exact definitions of both words. But look, if you want to get some traction happening online, and especially using social media platforms such as LinkedIn, you just got to bite the bullet and say, hey, it's about content. I've avoided it for too long. I now need to get this thing happening. You've got to make a decision sooner or later. Now let's look at the basic game plan. I assume you can see that. All right, so this is sort of a little diagram that I like to use when I'm teaching people, but it starts with our client avatar. So the first thing is you can't create great content if you don't know who you're writing for. So you can't write for everybody, because then your content becomes bland because you're trying to please everybody. That will never work. You've got to write for a specific avatar, right? A type of person that fits your profile of an ideal client. You've got to write for them. So what are their problems? What are their issues? Okay, get clear about that. And then you can start writing content for that group of people. And you only write about 1 point per post. So let's say you've got all these, a list of problems, concerns, etc., that your target audience has. Maybe it's a list of 20, 15. They're losing sleep at night because of this problem they've got. And then you look at that sort of the main problem, you break it down. What are all the sub-problems that underpin the main problem? All right, well, let's say you've got 20 bullet points. That's 20 ideas to write content. So you only write one idea per post, one idea, even if it's a micro idea, write about that. And then the next time you post, next time you write, you'll write about another idea, another little problem point, another little pain point. The content then helps with your authority positioning, okay? Look, most of the people that have done business with me, either on Facebook or LinkedIn over the years, they're what I call lurkers. They don't comment that often, if at all. Some of them don't. First thing you know that they're interested is when they ping you in the inbox there. Hey, I've been looking at that latest post of yours. Really got me thinking. I saw a few of your earlier posts and I like what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. And next thing I know, I'm doing a call with the person. Specialized solutions, that's another part of the formula. Demand generation. Now, there's demand generation and there's lead generation, okay? Now, lead generation is where you're being more proactive. So sending direct messages, for instance, or sending an email or something like that, that would be what I'd call lead generation. Now, I've done plenty of business over the years by using outreach methods, either sending DMs or sending emails. Emails I've done great with even before I started using social media. But then you've got demand generation. Now, demand generation is where you're getting more inbound, okay? It's more about inbound, all right? And that's where having great content becomes essential. But also, you need to have a community, because if you don't have a community, if you don't have a bunch of people who are regularly commenting on your content, it's going to be hard to stimulate demand, because LinkedIn won't be showing your content to many of your followers. They won't. Even if you've got 10,000 followers, if you're not getting the engagement on your posts, you'd be lucky to get 1% of them seeing your content. LinkedIn will just strangle it. They'll strangle your reach. Dead set, they will. So how can you get demand generation going if you can't get a bit of engagement happening? Because the engagement expands your reach, more eyeballs on your content. So I would say that, look, if you're happy to take a kind of a slow coach approach to client acquisition on a platform like LinkedIn, okay, it's going to be your 2 or 3 year plan. On the other hand, if you also need to generate some business like now or within the next month or two, lead generation techniques would be the way to go. You're still posting content, so you're building up the demand generation thing for the long term, still posting content, you do a bit of this outreach stuff. That's the way I've done it. And then, look, no matter which type of result you get, which method you use, you're wanting enlightened conversations. That's it. Conversations, not pitches, not sales pitches, conversations. Conversations lead to calls and calls lead to clients. That's it. All right, so basic content method, I've already covered that, so I don't need to do that now. It's just where you're posting high impact content and just basically building it up over the medium to long term. Content plus is where you do that, you post content, high impact content, but you include a little offer. You include a little offer at the end of your post. And it might be a lead magnet offer for a free report, a cheat sheet, something that solves the problem that's relevant to your target audience. It could be a video. It could be an invite to your next LinkedIn event. Whatever it is, you can offer that at the bottom. And I think just about at the bottom of the post, and just about every time I include one of these little offers, I get leads. So it's a content plug. We're not just relying on the content, we're also adding a little promotion towards the end of the post for something of value. And then people can make a comment in the comment section and say, yes, I want the report, or video please, or whatever it is. And if you go to my profile, you'll see, I think my last post was Thursday, and I think I had a little offer there, and I got some leads. All right, you'll see it there. Response sample. So I don't want to include links or anything like that to a separate page. I want people to identify them in my newsfeed, right, in the comment section. And so this is just an example of a lead gen post that I ran, asking them to comment. And some of them, sometimes how many comments is it? Yeah, 100 comments from one post, and a good number of those comments, good percentage, at least half, were leads. Okay, here's another example. Awesome, I done for you thought leadership video, because that's one of the things I talk about. All right, so I get leads from that. I just say, just type TL below, bang, they type TL, and then I have a quick chat with them on LinkedIn, on the messaging platform. Then see, these are some of the comments that you get from these sorts of posts. We very much appreciate getting a copy of your full process document. Many thanks for the post, and on it goes. All right, speeding forward. Strategy 2, fast track. So the content plus is a really good one if you don't want to reach out to people in the DMs. But the next one, this one, fast track lead gen, is about sending gentle direct messages. So I would say ideally, if you combine both, like your content plus an offer in your post, that'll get you a few leads, and then send some gentle direct outreach. All right. So the foundation, as I've said, is post high impact content, reply to all comments. Don't forget that. Don't ignore your commenters. They've taken the time to post a comment. Don't ignore them. This is how we build relationships. We can do it in the commenting threads. Comment on the posts of your ideal clients. Let's say you've got 5 ideal clients. Got a little list there, or 10, 5 or 10, something like that. Why not support their content? It's only going to take you a minute for each time you do it. So if you're doing 3 a day, that's 3 minutes. You think you can spend 3 minutes? Let's say it's 5 minutes. And then the next day you do another 3 on another 3 people's posts. You see, this is how we build community within LinkedIn, which to me is an integral part of this process. And then you can send a pitch message. As I say, it's very gentle the way I do it. Offer something valuable, make it free, always follow up. So for instance, good to connect, John. Perhaps we can support each other's posts. This is a welcome message, by the way. This is not a pitch message. It's a great way to build engagement and community and learn more about each other. That's all I say. I'm not asking them for anything. I'm just saying, hi, this is me. Now, a pitch message, I'm using something slightly different to this now, because this is like X number of months old. This is a little test campaign that I ran. I just reach out and say, hey, John, I've been looking at the results of my recent test campaign. The test yielded 65 leads, 35 of which came from direct outreach, and the balance, 29, from my LinkedIn posts. I'm happy to show you how I'm doing it. Let me know. I got leads from that. Just sending them a simple message from that. It's not aggressive. There's no links, nothing. You like it? Okay, let me know and I'll give you some more. I'll help you. I'll help you. Helpfulness. Strategy 3 is the wonders of warmth. Forget cold pitching, create warmth and rapport first. So high impact content, networking in the threads, quick chit chats in the DMs, no agendas, and maybe if you've got a live event or something like that, you could promote that. So the wonders of warmth, because if people attend your live event, and LinkedIn will promote it for you, which is a pretty good thing. They'll attend your live event, they'll start to feel more warmth towards you, assuming you've got basic communication skills. They'll start to feel more warmth towards you, and then all sorts of opportunities open up from that. I ran a little live event about 3 weeks ago or something like that, and I got leads. From that. I followed up some of them who attended, who registered, got some conversations happening. One thing leads to another. Okay, commenting. Comment on your ideal clients. Comment on up and comers who will reciprocate. Comments should be helpful and valuable, and avoid overt self-promotion. Absolutely avoid it like the plague. If you're commenting on someone else's post, do not make it about you. Be helpful, valuable content, valuable comments, And people like it, then they'll seek you out. They'll go and have a look at your profile, and they might send you a connection request. Marketing ecosystem number 4. All right. Well, I think many of us will know about this, but we start to call this the foundation. In high impact content, work the commenting threads, run a LinkedIn event or 2 every now and again. That definitely helps. Plus, if you're on YouTube, you can do some good stuff there. So you're building an ecosystem. I'm not saying if you're relatively new to this whole online thing that you start doing all of this straight away. No, start with LinkedIn. And then when you're comfortable with that, you can move out. You can start a YouTube channel. You've got a blog, get your SEO done, and you start building an ecosystem. So people are starting to see you in different parts of the internet. Podcast, not necessarily to have your own podcast, but to get guest gigs on other people's podcasts. That would be good. Speaking gigs offline or online, all sorts of different ways of developing and marketing ecosystem. And then ads is another option. I don't use ads. I don't need to. Everything is organic. I love it. But ads is another option. And then if you've got an email list, obviously that forms part of your ecosystem. And in fact, you can be building your email list through a platform like LinkedIn. And then finally, the accelerator method. Okay, people outside of LinkedIn and plug them into LinkedIn, right? So we say that LinkedIn is one of your foundational platform. Like I said at the outset, I basically gave it away. You're meeting people out in the community on face-to-face, in-person networking events, Chamber of Commerce, whatever, online networking events, other ways of meeting people. There's lots of different ways of doing it. And if they saw you at one of these events, they'll remember you probably. And then connect with them on LinkedIn and just expose them to your superior content. That's it. So online networking, offline, blah, blah. And it's the formula. Communicate in the DMs when appropriate. So that's basically how I do. I've got a thing here, a breakdown of how I got my first 6 clients on LinkedIn. But I think I'll just finish it there. And if you haven't connected with me on LinkedIn, feel free to do so. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to.
That was excellent. I didn't want to interrupt. So we have gone slightly over time, but no, that's right. We've got a few minutes left. But I think if anyone wants to stick around for an extra 5 minutes over time, I don't think it'll break the bank. Interesting what you say about links, because I like to add links because I've got other things I'm trying to promote. So maybe I need to just, and I understand LinkedIn don't want to drive people off platform. They want to keep engagement so they can get ad spend and talk about their numbers and all that sort of stuff. So
yeah, that's right. That's the problem.
Yeah, so maybe that's
something
that I've got to do is just put. I've seen your comments. You've got tons of them, and your community is massive. Like, power to you. Like, that's awesome.